So I don't know if you know this, but wallpaper is making a comeback in like a really big way. And I didn't know this until I watched this Netflix thing about like interior design masters or something like that. Pretty sure that's what it was called. And the the contestants were like wallpapering everything, like obviously walls, but then they would like take it up the ceiling in really interesting, cool ways. And I decided to start doing wallpaper because we're doing this house remodel and addition and all of the things. It's been wild. And it's time to design Scout's room. And so I decided to do wallpaper and I let her pick out this giant ass mural that runs like 18 feet long, right? Like the whole length of one of her walls in her room. And I got it and realized two things. One, um, I don't know how to wallpaper. That's the first. And two, it's a mural. And so everything actually has to perfectly line up. And so I'm really nervous about that for sure. Of course, it has nothing to do with, the soap and the pour and what we're doing today. But, hi, that was my day. How was yours? I will tell you all about today's video and what we are doing today in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. I need to go watch some YouTube videos on how to wallpaper, but for now, let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And today you are here for day 15 of 365 days of soap. And we are, with our new format and structure, doing a So You Want to Be a Soap Maker series. And we're going back to basics. And for today, we are focusing on molds, as well as other items that you use with which to soap. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because I spent a lot of money on molds when I was first starting out. And there are a lot of different options that you can use for molds for sure, be it, slab molds or log molds or column molds or, molds, all of the things. Today I'm just going to focus specifically on log molds, so like the long molds. And as I said, I like spent a lot of money over the years buying molds, and then I would get them and I was like, they don't quite fit what it is that I need. Either, the width of the soap was going to be too wide, or the actual length of the mold didn't yield a proper size batch, or any number of weird things, really. And so, we're going to go through these really popular, commonly purchased molds for beginner soap makers and talk about them, and I'm going to give you my opinion on the things that I think you should buy and or make if you're starting out, for sure. Also, we are going to talk about things like whisks and spatulas and containers for your lye and containers to make soap in and all that jazz, because they're all not created equal, and we're going to talk about why that is, in the video. So let's go to the video and we can do the chit-chatty thing. Okay, so here are 5 different types of molds existing here, and we're going to talk about all of them and what size of bar they yield and the different dimensions. And we're going to pull out some awesome rulers that one of my sudsers sent me, which have been so handy. Now, this is the one that I use. I mean, not the one. I have a lot of these. I have like a lot of these. But Mr. Soap and Clay made this to spec, because after I had tested a lot of the different types of molds on the market, I decided that I wanted my bars to look some kind of way and be, you know, some kind of width from side to side and some kind of height. So that's it. Now this particular mold, I did ask him to make for, it's 12 inches. The cavity itself is 12 inches long. It's about 2 3/4 inches wide, and the whole mold is 4 inches tall, but the way that I make my bars, the bars are about 3.75 inches tall. And so that's awesome. That's the size soap that I liked having in my hand. That's awesome. The only problem with that is, again, I had Mr. Soap and Clay build that mold with it's 12 inches inside, and really I should have had him build it 12.5 inches inside so I could have the 2 cutoffs and get a full 12 bars. Now, this is a very popular mold that is sold on Amazon, and I see this on the soap forums all of the time. You can buy it for relatively cheap, and I will link it in the comments below, but I would not actually buy this mold because it's only like 10.25 inches long, and it only holds 50 ounces of soap batter. And so really what you're dealing with now, it's 10.5 inches long. So really what you're dealing with now is you can get 10 proper 1-inch cuts out of this batch. So just 10 bars. And that kind of bothers me because, like, you should at least do things in like dozen quantities, right? Like that's what we do. That's what people do. We buy 12 donuts. Yeah. This one was also purchased from Amazon, and I think back when I purchased it a bajillion years ago, it was called a bread loaf mold, and it's wider than the little pink silicone mold, but the side walls, they're not really well reinforced. Now, I do like using a mold that's this wide for certain bars. You're essentially reversing the length and the width for those. And so for some of the bars in my line, I really do like having a wider mold for sure. But the problem with this one is that, again, you have to find a stabilizer for the sidewalls so the sidewalls don't bow. And also the actual measurement of that, which I didn't just do, it's a little bit weird too. It's about, oh, yep, here, I went back. See? Oh, I remembered. Okay. So it's basically at 11 inches. So you can get 11 good cuts out of that. Because it's silicone, you don't need your cutoffs on the end pieces. But then you're still just getting 11, which is kind of problematic. So that's a problem for that one. And, you know, I guess not the secondary, but the biggest problem with this particular mold is, again, you have to brace up the sides. Otherwise, it's going to bow, and it's very flimsy. Now, this is another version of that from Brambleberry. Now, this was one of their early versions of the silicone mold, and it also had some problems with bowing. They have since fixed their molds, and they're actually sturdier, so you don't actually need to brace up the sides. But this is the size bar that it gives you, and it's lovely. It's very similar to the one that you get from that bread loaf mold. This is also like at least twice the price of the bread loaf mold. Again, I am linking everything down below, so do your thing. And this is a proper 10 inches, so you get essentially 10 bars out of this mold, which is, again, it's a problem to me. Like for me, maybe you're fine with producing, 10 bars out of a loaf, but I like keeping it with things that make sense, like 12. Now this would be, I actually really love this mold. I picked it up off Amazon. I think it cost like 15 bucks. And it is a full 12 inches long. And this would be close to my measurements for the size soaps that I like to make. But it is a full 12 inches long and really good for certain pours, like a tall and skinny shimmy, or like a cool landscape soap where you're building up instead of out, because it is a little bit, it's not as wide as my mold, my custom molds, and certainly not nearly as wide as any of the other options that I've shown you. So if I had it my way, so something like that, the tall and that's what that is going to yield, really, which is, you know, significantly thinner than mine, but produces really cool patterns. So if I had my druthers and I got to pick your log molds, I would go with this one right here from Amazon, or building your own, because it's very easy to build your own. You figure out your dimensions, you screw it all up, and then you just line it with paper, which is great. I would recommend building your own in normal circumstances, but you know, wood prices have been insane recently, so maybe it's not exactly the right time to do that, but in general, build your own molds. It's cheaper. Okay, now on to everything else that you really need in your soaping world. This is actually like a coffee steamer, like a milk steamer that I got on Amazon, and I have multiples of this. This particular one holds 50-ish ounces, and it is stainless steel and can handle very high heats. And so, you know, that's awesome. And it is what I use to, some version of this is what I use to mix the majority of my lye in. And also it's dirty. This is just part of the game right now, guys. Like I'm literally in the middle of a functioning soap shop and I needed to film a video, and yeah, there's water spots, and that one has been very well used. That particular lye pitcher is, oh, at least 6 years old, and it's still going strong. It's awesome. It's great. And I've had a lot of comments or questions or whatever about mixing your lye solution in glass. Now, the actual mixing of your lye solution in glass, I wouldn't recommend, but also I don't exactly know why I wouldn't recommend it, and I'll talk more about that later. These are beakers as well. Now these are heat safe up to 280 degrees, I want to say. And I use these for prep for all of my colors, for prep for classes. So lye solutions do get mixed in those, in their own separate little whatevers. And I've had none problems with them whatsoever. They're actually, you know, like chemistry grade beakers. And so for mixing all manner of things, I highly recommend them. Glass containers for mixing of your oils and the actual mixing of the soap. Now, this one has been used and well used for, like, this particular one is over 6 years old, daily use, multiple batches of soap every single day going through, you know, that Pyrex. And you can see the scratches on it right now. And let's keep in mind, those are scratches, not etching. Those are two complete different things. And even so, both the scratches and what could etch glass, which is not lye, it's still completely smooth to the touch. So it's not etching. We're going to have a whole last video on just that, okay? Now, this is also another option. Now, you can get this at the dollar store. Now, it's $1 hair. And the plastic rating on this particular guy is perfect for mixing your oils and your lye solution to actually start the emulsification process for sure. These are for smaller batches though. I use those in class every day, a bunch of times a day, when they're doing like 1 pound batches. Now back to the mixing of the lye solution in glass. I wouldn't do it just because, but I have also been known to pour my cooled lye solution into a glass container if I need to get, you know, I need to mix another batch of lye into my stainless and they're all full. Now, for spatula use, I really do prefer the spatulas that are completely, you know, silicone all the way across, like with that first one, or this one that's a silicone top. You cannot remove it from the base and the base is plastic, versus the wooden handle. And that's just because stuff gets underneath that little removable head and it can get gross. Now for whisks, this is something you might want to pay attention to. Now here's the thing, as far as utensils go, as far as like tools go, cooking tools, the majority of tools these days are made out of stainless steel and not aluminum. So that metal showing as that silicone starts to break down, not great. Now this is a silicone coated plastic and it's been very heavy duty. I also got that from the dollar store. Now if you're using the silicone coated metal, just double check and make sure that it's not aluminum. In most instances, it's not going to be aluminum, but just make sure, because aluminum and lye, when they meet each other, they can produce some off-gassing that can be dangerous to you. So, you know that. Now, as far as stir sticks, I actually really love all things bamboo. And the reason for that is because bamboo will eventually break down just like everything else, but even as it's breaking down, it's releasing things into your lye solution or whatever that are like similar to your silk fibers. Oh, we should have a whole, so that's one that's been well used, like very well used. We should have a whole video on silk fibers and what you can use instead of paying a bajillion dollars for your silk fibers in your soap to make things silky. But as far as all of this goes, again, if I had my druthers, I'd like to see people making their soap in a glass container or a big pot that is not aluminum, and mixing their lye in a stainless steel big container and using spatulas and whisks that you know have no aluminum in them. But other than that, that's really all you need to make soap. It's pretty easy. And there they are, a whole bunch of different types of molds and whisks and spatulas and bowls and containers that you can get, as well as my recommendations on the ones that you do start out with, just so you don't waste your money or have just giant boxes of molds taking up space on your shelves that you never use years and years later. So there's that. We can definitely do some more interesting stuff as far as other molds go, and like the custom, little molds for embeds and stuff like that at a later date. But for now, this should totally get you started with, starting to build the things that you need in your soap shop to do the things, for sure. If you have the opportunity and the wherewithal under normal circumstances, I would tell you to, totally make your molds. Actually, I think you probably still can make your molds for reasonably cheap right now, but the problem with making molds out of wood and then lining them right now is wood is incredibly expensive right now, like so expensive. It's like 7 times the regular cost for like a sheet of plywood, freaking me out because we're in the middle of like a remodel and doing the things, but whatever. So you can make your own molds. They're actually reasonably simple to do, and so there's that too. I hope you guys had a good time today. I certainly had fun, and I enjoyed myself, because this is wildly better than having to go figure out how to hang wallpaper. But that's next for my day, so wish me luck, please. I would appreciate that. I would also appreciate it for those of you who aren't subscribed to go ahead and click that button. That would make me happy. And me happy is a good thing, right? We all like to be happy. For sure. For those of you who have clicked that button, you've made me very happy. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. I hope that I've helped you be happy and all of the jazz, over the year and change that we've known each other, for sure. Thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap. I'm out of here for today. Got to go tackle some wallpaper, but I'll see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.